Thank you to Julie Periscandola for your ongoing support in working with the Society and developing that relationship. We could not have done what we've been able to do today without your support. I also just want to recognize we have a number of our board members here tonight who are responsible for a lot of the initiative, the planning, and implementation of what we've been working on. So we have Dave Johnson, our Vice President. We have Mike Evans, our Secretary, Michael Johnson, our Treasurer, and Linda Martinez, a board member with us tonight. So thank you. So just to take it a step back, we, the Greater Kent Historical Society, we operate the Kent Historical Museum, which is, you see in the photo here, it is the historic 1908 Brighter House located out on Smith Street. And our mission is to inspire the community to explore and discover their history. We educate and preserve diverse family and kinfolk storylines for future generations. This is really important for us as we're thinking about how we are implementing everything that we do, whether it's through our strategic plan, our programming, our exhibits, and what we would like to do within the community. At the historic house, we maintain public hours for visitors to come by. We maintain a historic collection. We host activities and events. We participate in community events outside the walls of the museum, and just continue to look for ways to engage our community in connecting with history. So really quick with what we had been doing, what's been going on in 2023, just to look at some of the numbers. In total, we engage with I'll say almost 1,000 people. It probably is above this. I think some of these estimates are conservative. Whether that's with events at the museum, with general visitors to the museum, as well as participation and engagement we've had at some of the community events we've been involved with. We had just over 80 members in 2023, which is up from, during the pandemic at one point we had around 40 members, so I'm really excited to see our membership continue to grow and see that support from the community for what we're working on. We received just under 15,000 in individual donations and received just shy of 14,000 in grant funds, but we had a number of grant funds pledged as well in 2023, including that 11,900, which is part of a project grant that is ongoing work that's continuing into this year. We have a small but mighty team, and I think one of the things that I really want to emphasize is the amount of effort that volunteers and our board has put in this last year. If you look at the kind of fair market value for in-kind service for volunteers, it's just shy of $100,000 of contributed effort. And so again, when we talk about the work that's going on at the museum, we really could not do it without the support of our community. In 2023, we hosted a range of exhibits and experiences. We worked with Humanities Washington with their Speakers Bureau to bring out B.J. Cummings to talk about her book, The River That Made Seattle, all about the history of the Duwamish River watershed. We had a dedication of the welcome figure carved by Mike Evans in April. We hosted our annual Experience Historical Kent weekend that in August. We had great performances from the I Build Bridges team and a range of community partners that participated from throughout the community in that effort. We worked with Christina Aroki-Asami of Culture Generation in launching the Taste of Kent, Taste of Community tours that we're continuing on with this year. We worked with the Kent Libraries and put up we have a pop-up display called Our Kent Stories that highlights voices from within our community. And we did a range of programming related to that, an open archives event in September, and a storyteller, Margaret Reed McDonald, as well as a writing workshop with Kristen Millarus-Young. And finally, we hosted a murder mystery night in October, which we had a lot of fun with, and we're continuing to offer. We're actually offering another one here in April, as well as now continue to offer it as an opportunity for private events, as another way to engage with history in a fun, unique way. And then we did also offer a number of exhibits as well, both within the museum and outside. We worked to put together some displays in the Second and Meeker window front right there, with some of the materials that we worked on at Kent International Festival. And we also put together an exhibit with the Seattle Thunderbirds, and hosted a nice opening where we had most of the team and we had Cool Bird out. So again, it was a lot of fun, and another way to bring in an audience that we really hadn't engaged too much with before. And so, as you can see, we're really trying to work on continuing to build partnerships, build relationships within our community, and try out new programs that reach different parts of our audience. As I mentioned, we have been really working to prioritize participation in existing community events, whether that's through being run by the City of Kent, the Lions Club, Kent Downtown Partnerships, etc. And here's a few of the events that we participated in this year, and we're continuing to place that as a priority. It's a great way for us to be able to come out and show support for the work that other organizations are doing and build those relationships. So some of the things that are happening behind the scenes that I really want to highlight, in particular, one of the things that showed up in the strategic plan as a high priority for our collections was to conduct a collections inventory, basically to assess the state of what types of collections we have within our space. We've been in existence for around 30 years. So so far we've inventoried, at least in 2023, that was about 2,500 items. We are now well above 3,000 items in our collections inventory, making really good progress on that, and will really lay the foundation for helping us to continue to build a little bit more of the provenance and the stories of the history that these objects tell. We worked on developing an interpretive plan for the museum. I'll talk a little bit more in detail about what that looks like and what that means, but it was a really important initiative for us to lay the foundation for what we want to work on in programming and exhibits in the future. We worked with a fundraising consultant just to establish some constituent database, work on developing some of the infrastructure for annual appeals and future fundraising. We were able to finish our leaded window project. We had received a series of grants to address the leaded windows, the historic windows at the house that were falling were in need of repair. So we were able to finish up with the last 13 windows with a grant working with Art Class Technologies, and we're super thankful for that work. And then we were able to start a project with funding through Washington State Historical Society. It's called their Diversity and Local History Grant Program. And we have been working in partnership with Mother Africa to work on gathering and sharing the history of African communities here in Kent. We see this really as a seed to start to develop that project and bring that into the community. And we'll be doing some more public-facing things here in 2024, but I think it was a really big effort and important initiative on our part in 2023. So, with our strategic plan, as I mentioned, back in 2023, with your support, we were able to work with Weatherhead Experience Design to develop a 6-year strategic plan, which has really been guiding a lot of the work that we've been doing over the past 2 years. And it's laid out with 9 different sections of areas to address. Everything from personnel to programs, collections, and city relationships. And so, again, this has been really underlying a lot of what we've been focusing on. over the past couple of years to really lay a foundation that will allow for continued growth for the organization. Michael Johnson, the chair of our strategic plan committee, developed this dashboard that helps us track and be accountable to the items in our strategic plan, just so we have a vision for what are the things that we have made progress on. Where are we making, strategic decisions about what we might reorder or rechange, change the order of, but really helping us to really guide and be thoughtful about how we're making progress in all of these areas. So it's a huge undertaking. I'm really thankful that Michael's done the work to put this together. We meet to go over this quarterly, which helps us make some significant progress. Because of that, largely because of that, we were able to complete or are in progress on nearly 95% of the items in the year 1 and 2 of our strategic plan, which again is huge for us in just being able to lay a solid foundation that we can continue to build from. That's the way the strategic plan has been kind of laid out, is laying out some foundational steps that we can continue to build on throughout the years. So some of the key highlights in administration operations. One of the early stages of the strategic plan really focused on bringing in an executive director to help advance some of these strategic plan initiatives. So I was brought in late 2022. We worked on updating our bylaws to align with some of the evolving needs both in the museum and priorities that we saw within the strategic plan. We implemented a point-of-sale system for handling both in-person and online transactions for sales and donations. We also implemented a constituent relationship management system, basically a way that we can make sure that we're working well with our members, with donors, to be able to maximize our input and communication with those that are doing so much to support the organization. And we just started working late 2023, early 2024 with Grant Prospect Researcher to complement some of the work that we had worked on with our fundraising consultant. In exhibits, again, the big thing that we worked on is this interpretive plan to help us be strategic about what kinds of exhibits and programs we're going to focus on. And I already kind of walked through some of the exhibits that we did this last year, and I'll talk a little bit later about some of the plans we have for this coming year. In programming and collections, with our collections, just as I was coming on in 2022, we transitioned to a web-based version of Past Perfect. It's a collections management software, basically, where we keep all of the information about the items within our collections. The nice thing about the web-based version is that it gives us the capacity once we have updated a lot of the catalog's records, that we can share that information about our collections publicly through our website. And so it was a really good first step for us, being able to make our collections more accessible. As I mentioned, we got the grant for pursuing a collections inventory. And on the programming side, again, as well as continuing to offer a number of the programs or testing out new program formats, we've just been working to kind of integrate an annual planning calendar, not just for programs, but also for a lot of our administrative work, so that we are all kind of rowing in the same direction. And then our relationships, again, just our ability to continue to meet with Julie and other members of Parks Department and other members of the city to strengthen those relationships, find out where we can complement the work that's being done within the city, and where we are really fitting a need within our community. And a big part of that is working on updating our lease agreement which Julie and I have been continuing to work on, which I think is going to be a really important step for us just to clarify our relationship, so that, again, we can kind of maximize our the way in which we're complementing the work that the rest of you all are doing within the community. We're continuing to stay involved in community events, and we're continuing to look for new ways that we can partner with community organizations to expand the reach of what we can all do together. We've also been really trying to continue our work in doing surveys and evaluation. A big part of the strategic plan was getting a lot of feedback from our community about what people would like to see at the museum. And so we've been continuing to work on surveys and evaluations to understand both what are people getting out of their experiences when they come to the museum, when they come to an event, as well as what are some of the things that they're looking for in the future from the museum. And so we've been doing that a number of ways. Again, just general visitor feedback when people come to the museum. We have an evaluation form. We do some evaluations at events. And when we were working on this interpretive plan, we did some surveying to just get a better sense of what people are looking for in terms of programming experiences at the museum. From all of that feedback, I've tried to kind of collate, like, what are the things that we know? What are people looking for? And again, I don't think anything here is is a surprise, but I think it's really helpful to kind of put it into words and make it concrete. People are really looking for opportunities that are interactive, social, and fun. They're looking for opportunities for hands-on learning, whether that's workshops or something where you can really be involved. It's not just a passive experience. They're looking for ways that they can explore their interests, whether that's something that they have a personal connection to, that they're curious about, that they have a passion for. Looking for things that are, I say, age appropriate, basically that we have programs that span a range of that are of interest to a variety of ages, whether that's early learners, school age students, young adults, multi-generational families, or groups, that we have a variety of experiences that cater to those different audiences, and that we have events and programs that represent the various cultures of the community. So that's kind of the what types of programming. In terms of what people are really interested in learning more about, what is the kind of the content, I guess, that people are looking for. People are really interested in learning about the diversity of the cultural and ethnic groups' experiences here in Kent. So representing a variety of perspectives, voices, and experiences. Some interest in things like industry and technology and innovation that we have seen throughout the history of our city. The early formation of Kent as a city, as well as the growth of the city throughout its history. A lot of people talking a little bit, wanting to know more about recent Kent history. Oftentimes, I think people think of history as, 50 years ago or more. And I think really, something that I'm passionate about, and I think we're seeing from people's responses that, they want to see a connection today, and 50 years, it's just as important to see what happened 50 years ago as what happened 10 years ago, as what happened 5 years ago, and make those connections to what we want to see for the future of our community. People are really, want to know about key people within the community, and just getting, again, more rotation of topics around arts, culture, food, that we see within our community. What's missing? So what are the things that people, when they come to visit the museum, which right now is primarily interpreted as a historic house, what are they looking for? I think what we're really seeing is people just want more context, right? More context about the broader history of Kent, beyond just, the history of that, of a house. or of the people that live there. More engagement, so more that we can do in terms of whether that's text, audio, etc., that is engaging for visitors, something that they can respond to or respond with in a group. And again, a rotation in an opportunity to explore various topics. So not just one and done history of Kent, but also an opportunity to do a deeper dive into specific topics. And again, we always get a range of great ideas, and I think it's encouraging to see that there's lots of opportunities for new areas to explore. So based off of all of that feedback, we developed an interpretive plan, and from that, a vision for a new 21st century Kent Historical Museum. I think we had been having conversations, and we knew that change was coming. I actually think that was a quote from our former president. We knew that change was coming for this organization, and we really wanted to just find that direction and start steering that way. So. But I am always asked the question before we start any big why are we doing this now? Again, I think that we had been hearing from the community, and we had been hearing internally that there was a need for change, as a lot of cultural organizations have been experiencing, in particular from since the pandemic, there's really a need to breathe new visibility, new excitement, and relevance to these organizations and our offerings, and I think there's some real excitement to see some change. So we developed this interpretive plan with Marilee Mostoff. She is a interpretive planner we worked with through the bulk of 2023. And basically what we came up with, it's a series of about 4 relatively short guiding documents. But really it's about establishing for the museum the criteria that we can use to assess the relevance of a project based on these 4 questions that you see up here. Basically, why are we doing the project? How does it align with our mission? Who is our intended audience? What is the format of the project? And really crucially, the last question, which is how. How are we designing for learning experiences for these intended audiences? The museum field is really, has been shifting, and the 21st century museum model is not focused just about what you're putting up, but it's how you're putting it up, how you are engaging with your visitors, and that's what we're really orienting towards. I do think that the important thing is that this interpretive plan is not prescriptive, so it's not something that's outlining every single exhibit and program that we want to do. I think it gives us the flexibility to be responsive to what the community needs are for our exhibits and programs, the plans for those to evolve over time as we see needs shift within the community, or where we receive additional feedback for what people really want to see. But it gives us a really great framework for how we make decisions. So again, just the why, we're always going to come back to our mission, to inspire the community to explore and discover their history. And I think those key verbs, to inspire the community to explore and discover, I think is really at the heart of a lot of what we've been focusing on with what we want to do at the museum. Beyond that, we established a series of outcomes that we want people to feel a sense of belonging here in Kent. We want visitors who come to the museum or attend an event to be able to explore a topic that they feel as they have a personal connection to, and that they'll make a connection between what they see in history and their own experiences. And so I think that's really what is guiding a lot of what the kinds of experiences we want to create. Our community really is the greater Kent community. In particular, we're looking at people of all ages who do currently live or have lived in Kent, especially people that are new to living in Kent, K through 12 students and staff, and our City of Kent partners, who really are key in helping to work with us to share the history of our community. How do we want to do this? This is really where we're focusing on thinking about what are the strategies that we want to employ to make our programs and exhibits engaging. And so we're looking for experiences that encourage conversation, encourage exploration, making observations about what they see around them in their community, making connections to the past, using our imagination to think about a vision for what we would like to see for the future of our community, and personal reflection. And so those are big and lofty, but what does that actually mean? What does that look like? You know, we can do that in a variety of different ways. It can be as, and I'll say simple, I'll put that in quotes, but simple as asking really good questions within the heart of exhibits to get people to encourage conversation, to get people in dialogue with each other, whether that's in a group or, having interactive questions and experiences where you can see, what others have said, what others have responded to, and you are now put in conversation with the rest of your community about what you'd like to see, what our history means to you. We are really working to create an environment where authority is shared with our community. It is not our role as the museum to tell you our history. It is to work with our community in order to gather and share that history. And so I always point to the great example that I think our friends and neighbors up at Highline Heritage Museum are doing to really work collaboratively with their community to offer programs that are co-developed and for their community. And so that's some of the work that we're working towards. What we'd like to see at the new museum in terms of content, some of the themes that we've identified to explore, particularly in the next 5 years, and to focus on are things like, again, most of these should look familiar from what we heard from visitors, but industry and innovation, cultural traditions, food and culinary traditions, the diversity of ethnic and racial communities within Kent, environmental change of the city over time, the way that the environment has impacted the lived experiences of our community, and that community involvement and activism. What I think, again, as I've been saying, that I think makes this community special is how much people show up and support and fight for a better community here in Kent. So what does that actually mean for our museum? It really means a shift from an interpretation of the museum as a historic house to the museum as a broader history museum. Based off of these conversations, we put together a preliminary space use plan of basically what we would like to do within the museum. Broad strokes, what this means is utilizing our first floor, which is the floor that is ADA accessible for most of our primary exhibits, and then trying to move more of the administrative offices and spaces onto our second floor, and then utilizing those spaces in that first floor to highlight again a broader history of Kent. A focus on a thematic primary exhibit, rotating gallery, community gallery space, and more space for mixed use of interactive spaces. For primary exhibits, again, the focus would be more of a thematic history of Kent, based off of those themes that you saw from the interpretive plan. It really gives us an opportunity for us to have and I use primary, not permanent exhibit, which because I don't want it to feel like we were going to put something up and then that's it, it won't change. Primary exhibit, thematic primary exhibit gives us an opportunity to install to tell a broader history of Kent, but have sub-themes that we can rotate out. So if we have a space about industry and innovation, we can always rotate out particular, what we're highlighting within that part of the exhibit, while maintaining the overarching story and narrative that we have in the broader exhibit. We do want to at least, do some interpretation of the history of the house and in particularly of its residents. I think the Brighter House does have a number of stories of the residents who lived there that can really give us a gateway into different periods of Kent's history, and so I think it adds a nice layer that we can utilize without devoting the bulk of our exhibit space just to that history. And then providing some secondary exhibit spaces. So that would be spaces that we could use for rotating exhibits. If we want to do a specific, a deep dive on a particular topic, or we also having space that we can bring in community-led projects for as additional display spaces within the museum. Putting emphasis on multi-use spaces, hands-on spaces, having a library and archives space for people that are looking to do independent research, and spaces for, again, reflecting and thinking about the future that people want to see for our community. And then I just wanted to just mention, too, we are also thinking about the broader, how can we utilize our outdoor space for hands-on interpretation, programming, but also, again, for event space and things like that, continue to utilize the entirety of that property for our community. So it's a big, this is a big lift for our organization. This is looking at least a 5-year plan. But we're looking to do this incrementally. So it gives us an opportunity to move room by room, to update exhibit spaces. I think it gives us an opportunity as we're going to do some assessment, get some evaluation and feedback as we make a change. What are people drawn to? What do they want to see in other spaces, so we can continue to be responsive and reflective of what the needs are within the community. We'll have to acquire additional storage space. The big thing for us is increasing our capacity. So we're looking into grants and funding, in particular to look for a curator or interpretive specialist that can help lead in some of the planning for these changes. The other big thing for us is that it does not represent an irreversible change for the space. We're not planning on tearing out the wood paneling in the museum, right? We think that's a really important character to the house. But I think it's just, for us, it's a way that we can utilize our space most effectively to meet the community needs. And again, for me, it's all about how are we meeting this goal to build a stronger, inspired Kent community, and I think that's really what we're looking to and why we want to make this change. So I'm really excited about the possibilities that this has for our organization. Just to touch on kind of a little bit of what's ahead in 2024, we are looking at utilizing changing out our rotating gallery space to become that rotating gallery space. We have a student, a University of Washington museology student, who's planning out an exhibit based around Kent's response to COVID-19. We are working with Mother Africa on a launch event in May for our Kent African Communities Project, and to continue to build on that those stories and experiences. We're continuing our work with the Taste of Kent tours with Christina. We have our Experience Historical Kent weekend, August 9th and 10th. We have a Humanities Washington speaker, John Holliday, who's going to be giving a talk later in September. Again, there's a couple of other things in the works, but I just want to give a couple highlights for what we have coming up in 2024. Other big things on the back end of what we're working on. We're working on logo and rebranding. We're continuing work on updating the lease agreement. I just want to acknowledge that we are really focusing on the big for us Doors Open funding that just was passed through King County. That will basically, those funds will start becoming available in early 2025, and really hoping to leverage that funding to be able to advance a lot of these initiatives that we've been talking about. And I just want to say thank you again for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Any questions, Councilmember? Michelle.
Thank you, Council President. Dylan, thank you so much for your presentation, and to the board members for being here. Dylan, I just want to thank you. You mentioned increasing visibility for the museum, and I think that has really come through this past year. There have been so many different exhibits and activities that have really interested the public. So I just want to thank you for doing such a good job. And I think the strategic plan has kind of given new life to the Historical Society. So kudos to everyone involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam President. Hey, glad to have you on. I was curious, just you personally, you've been here almost 2 years now. Just wondering what kind of aha moments that you experienced since you've been here, and then maybe opportunities you see years down the road, just you personally.
Yeah, I think what I kind of keep going back to in terms of aha moments is I am continually impressed with the way that this community kind of comes together and just has there's a mentality of just we're going to get it done, right? And I think I saw that again. That's why I was excited about the tense response to COVID-19. I think that's an interesting topic because it might be something that people might not necessarily know about. It's kind of a little bit behind the scenes, but I think it is really representative of what happens within this community. And I think, to me, that's the opportunities that I see, which I think I always put partnerships and those relationship building first. I think there's such amazing work that people have been doing. Again, I hope she doesn't mind me calling her out, but Risho Sapana with Mother Africa, that just kind of came out of initial conversation. I went to talk with her about what do you think would be a great opportunity for that we could collaborate on. And, to her credit, it wasn't just the idea. She said, yes, even given the amazing work that Mother Africa does. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of work that whole organization puts into just having the impact that they do, and yet that they're still interested in kind of expanding and continuing that work. So I just see that with organizations across the board. So I think that's really the opportunity that I see.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Larmer.
Thank you, Council President. Dylan, I wanted, kind of echo some of the sentiment from Councilmember Michelle. Like, I applaud. I've seen you out at more events. It just seems like there's a lot more active engagement. You're meeting new people, introducing the society and the museum to more residents, and I've really felt that this last year. So thank you for that. And I'm really excited and energized by the idea of moving towards the museum model for that house. I think that's going to bring even more energy and interest, and very excited about the changes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I want to say thank you, Dylan. Thank you so much for all the work you've been doing, like my colleagues mentioned. And I'm looking forward to this strategic plan and all the amazing events you have planned. I mean, last year, there definitely was a difference in visibility for the museum. Your social media, your physical presence at the events, and your smile. So it's really important. I see you. You're always smiling at many events. So thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you to all the board members for being amazing volunteers and serving on this board for many, many, many years. And putting in the work, preserving our history and telling stories from our current history that's happening. So I really, really appreciate all of you. I know I was on that board many, many years ago. And I am a member of the board. So if any of my colleagues want to join me in joining and being the member for the board, not the board, for the museum, and hopefully community is also going to be more engaged, and looking forward to what 2024 brings and maybe 2025. And thank you so much for being here and all this amazing work.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to our next presentation, we have Federal Way Link Extension, Mark Madfai.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Madfi, Engineering Supervisor. I'm one of the liaisons for the Federal Link Extension. I share that role with Derek Hawks, who's here in our audience also. And we kind of split that up between 259th Street. So Derek covers everything to the north of 259th, including the KDM station, and I take care of everything to the south of 259th, including Star Lake. So Derek did the presentation back in July. Doing it now for the entire Kent portion of it. So 8 months has passed, and there's been a lot of progress since then. So I have a lot of great pictures and updates to share with everybody. So just to reorient everyone, and for new members and the audience, here's the map of the link extension through Kent, starting on the north side at KDM Road, and then continuing south. Let's see if there's a pointer here. Here. Okay, so there's KDM. Continues south behind Lowe's, and then up against I-5, continues south to the Star Lake Station here, right up against 272nd. Continues south from there into Federal Way. So the Kent Des Moines Station, some of the recent progress there. All the utility work is completed. Concrete roadway paving is complete on 30th Avenue, 234th, 236th, and 238th. Those are the new roads that are connecting between 30th Avenue and SR 99. Track and ballast is complete all the way down to 259th Street. Elevators, escalators, mechanical, electrical, fire, suppression systems, and plumbing are all installed in the garage in the station. So this station is really coming along quickly. It has a substantial completion date set for August of this year. So they're pushing hard to get everything done. A lot of the stuff that's happening you can't see from the pictures. It's all inside, but a lot of progress has been happening. We had some great pictures from our multimedia folks. They picked a drone out on a nice sunny day in early March and got some really great pictures, aerial pictures here. So this one's looking north at KDM Station. There's the garage there, obviously. Station's right here. Here's I-5, and Pack Highway is on the left side of the picture. Another one looking north on the garage. As you can see, it's really almost complete. It's got the architectural cladding done on the outside. A lot of landscaping is done around it. It's got the solar panels done up on the roof. Another one there looking to the southwest. There's the bus loop there coming right next to it. And there's one looking just straight west. There's a good picture of 236 here and the bus loop. Right along here. That continues underneath the station area and continues to Pack Highway, and then across that area highlighted there is College Way, and extends up to connect with the Highline College. And there's a good one showing it going under the station area there. Another good shot of the garage. You can't hear me, Kelly? Okay. There's a station, good shot of close up of the station looking west. And then there's a street view of the garage looking to the east on 30th Avenue. As you can see, it's really just about done on the outside and the inside too, almost. And there's a rendering of the garage looking really, really how they envisioned it to look. So it's getting much closer to what they envisioned years ago before they started the project. And then some more ground shots from 30th Avenue looking west towards the station. And on the right, there's on the glass, you can see some of the artwork that's done there. I guess that shows up quite a bit better at night when the lights are on, illuminating behind it. And there's a rendering of the station area, so starting to look closer to what it's supposed to look like in the finished product. And there's some more of the artwork in the glass area up on top of the station. This is a picture of 30th Avenue. So a lot of the road work is complete. Like I said, all the paving on the roads is done. Sidewalks are almost complete. Planter strips, as you can see, lighting is in. The picture on the left is looking north towards KDM Road, and the picture on the right is looking south towards, you can see the garage in the background. You can see the guideway there on the right side. They have the electric poles up for the overhead electric system up there. We have the street lights in on the roadway. There's the plaza area that they're pouring the decorative concrete. This is just north of or south of the station, and that's time consuming. They have to do it in separate panels and to give it an architectural look. It's coming along. So moving forward on KDM station area, completing the building finishes, including the metal panel ceilings at the station, completing the decorative plaza paving, testing, adjusting, and pre-inspections, other construction activities, completing the roadway restoration on SR 99, completing all the roadway restoration throughout the station area, completion of all the site work and landscaping. So now I'm going to talk about structure C. That is right in this area here. And that's right kind of in the middle of the wetland there. This is McSorley wetland, this large green area here. And I-5 and this portion of the guideway spans through that area. And that's got damp and soft soils, and it's been a big challenge for the foundation for them, and it's really been the Achilles heel for the whole Federal Way Link extension. Pushed them back for at least a year. They had to go back to the drawing board and redesign it and come up with a new plan. So they've done that now. They've gotten all of the substructure work completed, so all the shafts and columns and pier tables are in now, and some great pictures of that. So here's the before and after. On the left side is back from July, and on the right is now. And so they have these, and 259th is just behind us here. So they have all the short span girders up, crossing 259th and continuing to the south. And they're working on the larger span girders. So that's kind of where we left off with the last picture right here. So they're continuing along with these longer span girders here, which they do out of the ground. Nothing touches the ground. They have a machine that just continues and pours them, and they connect in the middle. So they're on schedule. They're progressing really nicely. There's no other conflicts and issues. So the construction is moving along well. Structure C is supposed to be completed in November of 2025. There's another picture looking to the north. So structure C, recent progress, short span girders and deck is poured, drill shafts, columns, and pier tables are completed. And moving forward in the next 3 to 6 months, they'll finish the cast in place box girders, closure segments, cast in place walls will be completed, and beginning of the embassy walls for the access road through there. Star Lake Station. Recent progress on that. Concrete road paving on 26th, 28th, and 272nd are nearly complete. Walls on 272nd on the north side are complete, and the south side walls will be completed next month. The garage and station elevators, mechanical, electrical, fire suppression systems, and plumbing are installed. So again, a lot of the interior work that you can't see to make it serviceable and operational are getting done. And ancillary building is physically complete. So a great shot looking southeast there. There's the garage, I-5 back here. Here's 272nd, 26th, and 28th here. It's all paved out. 272nd is mostly paved. And yeah, the garage and stations are far along. So here's one from before, back in July, and there's almost the same angle of the station and garage area. So you can see it's a lot's happened since then. Just on the outside, a lot of the exterior cladding, ornamental cladding on the garage is done, and a lot of the paving on the roads is completed as well, and lots of work done on the inside of the station. Another shot looking to the north. There's a rendering of the station area, and then there's some shots of the station area now. So starting to look much closer there. It'll look much better once they get a lot of the paving done. So they've graded for that. It's getting close to being able to install the bus loops and the walkways and plaza areas. So once those are in, it'll look a lot more finished and completed. Here's the before and after looking south at the stations. On the left is back from July. On the right is now with the tracks and ballast in and completing work in the station area itself. 272nd, on the left side, we're looking to the west, looking at the north side of the road. And then the picture on the right is looking to the east towards I-5. And a lot of that work is complete now on the north side. The walls are done, sidewalks are in, light pole bases are in. They just need the poles and trees and whatnot there. They're continuing work on the north side. They had a lot of conflicts with utilities that held them up for a long time. I know a lot of people were frustrated with having the road channelized down and with restrictions. So they're hoping to be able to get past that and get the walls completed here in April, and then probably another 6 weeks or so after that, they will be able to get the sidewalks in and hopefully open up the road. So moving forward on the Star Lake area, the plaza, walkways, and bus loop, concrete paving, completion of the building finishes, metal panel ceilings, breezeway artwork, platform level glass curtain wall, and illuminated handrail at the station. Site furnishings, including the bus shelters, trash and transformer enclosures, tree grates, site light poles, benches, trash receptacles, ornamental gates. So all the finishing touches to get done here in the next 3 to 6 months. Other activities are complete finishing of the ancillary buildings, ballast and track along the entire segment except for structure C, which is pushed out a bit. Continuation of the sidewalk and landscaping along 26th and 28th, and completion of walls and sidewalks on 272nd. So the Star Lake area is supposed to be substantially complete in December. So they're 4 or 5 months behind KDM station. Ongoing permit revisions, that's a lot of the work that Derek and I do on a daily basis as part of the design build process. There's been over 1,200 so far for the entire project, and about 433 in Kent. And with each revision, there's a multitude of other smaller revisions that incorporate one big revision. So Derek and I work on those daily, and they're ongoing throughout the process. There's 126 right now in design waiting to be submitted. So the traffic mitigation projects, those are some of the traffic improvements at various intersections to help mitigate for the additional traffic that will be caused from the stations once they open up. Those are at Pack Highway and KDM Road, Military Road and Reith Road, 272nd Street and Star Lake Road, Pack Highway and 272nd. And those projects they're kind of separate from the Federal Link extension, and they're bid separately, so they're out to bid now. They'll hope to open here and get awarded soon and get into construction probably this summer sometime. So we'll keep you posted on the progress on those projects. So moving forward to project closeout, we have street vacations and dedications, as-builts, which is a big process that we're going through now, and project closeout process. So the schedule, like I mentioned, KDM Station and Garage, substantial completion in August. Star Lake Station and Garage, substantial completion in December 24. Completion of Structure C work in November of 25. Sound Transit acceptance of all work, January 2026. And then they'll do testing after that for 6 months to a year, and hopefully have revenue service available in late '26. So, and then, yeah, we have another drone flyover that we'll send a link for the latest one. That's all I've got. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Looking forward to that completion whenever that all comes together. Hopefully there's no other issues or any bumps along the road. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just curious, early on, we'd be talking about the restroom uses and so on, the bathrooms in the area. Where are we at with that, and what did it look like? Is it a lock combination as you go in, or do you know where we end up with that?
I'm not sure. Kelly, I know better.
Good evening, Kelly Peterson, Deputy Public Works Director, former liaison on the Sound Transit project. Sound Transit, there's been a ton of conversation about the restrooms and how they would operate. There's actually timers and different things. So Sound Transit has been exploring some technologies and different things they can do where people can still use the facilities if they need to, but also try to get people to move along to avoid nefarious activities from occurring.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Boyd.
Yes, Mark and Derek, we talked earlier about this project, and